Hi, I'm Josh Brackenbury, and in this video I'm going to talk about marketing myths and the effects it has on reality. I'm also going to talk about marketing organisations and their orientation, so I'll have a few examples about that. And I'm also going to reflect on my learning and discuss about some of the points that I've learned throughout the lectures 1 to 3. One of the main myths that's going around in the business world is that marketing is just advertising. Marketing is not just to do with advertising, it's much more than that. For instance, it's about trying to know what your customer wants and needs from a product or a service. It's not just a department, it's a philosophy, an ideology, which can affect the nature of how an organisation works. Being able to identify and have an understanding of what a customer wants and needs can help you as a business create a more perfect product or service for your customers. For instance, Samsung have made smartphones for a number of years now, and the main rival being Apple and HTC and LG. And one of the main things that customers wanted was a much higher quality phone. And this wasn't just to do with gimmicks like new features or a better camera, for instance, although they've put that into their new phone, the Galaxy S6. But customers wanted like a more higher quality handset, which meant finding new materials. So what Samsung did was they researched into it, found what sort of quality product they wanted from their customers, and the customers said, oh well, we want a phone made of metal and glass. So what Samsung did is they put some research into looking into new suppliers, and by doing this they've managed to get more materials to put together to create the perfect handset. This has now made it a match contender to Apple, who don't necessarily do much market, well they do market research, but not as much as, let's say, Samsung have. And Samsung have really stepped up their game with the level of manufacturing. So by having more of a marketing approach to the way the business runs, Samsung has now increased their level of rivalry with Apple. A marketing myth is that a lot of people believe that all marketing should go online. Now, this isn't always the case, because more than ever we need to be more multi-channel. So although we need to be online, we also need to be on like social media, email, have a website. Also, we need to have like leaflets, brochures, more physical things, including billboards. Now, I work at a company called National Holidays, and we're a sales-oriented business, so we want to make the most amount of sales as possible. And in order to do this, we do advertising and marketing on a lot of channels. So we do it online, and we do it through post, and we've had a few TV campaigns as well, so people can watch TV advert and think, oh, that looks like a good company to book with, I'm going to book with National Holidays. Now, one of our successful campaigns is the 10% campaign, and this has allowed us to make the most sales as possible in a certain week. So we can get up to about 5,000 bookings a day, even, depending on which areas. So people look, but we mainly send the 10% brochures and leaflets out through leaflets, brochures. So people look through the brochures, they find a holiday that they want, they ring up, and we book them into it. And by doing this, by sending so many of them out, we can get the most amount of sales. And because of this campaign being quite successful, we've been able to reach a number of new customers as well. So we get new people ringing up saying, oh, I've never booked with National Holidays, what can you bring for me, sort of thing. What kind of tours do you do? So if they wanted to go to Scotland, for instance, but they didn't know which specific kind of place they wanted to go to Scotland, they just wanted to come and see it, we'd tell them a little bit about the tour, tell them about the price, and see how many people they wanted to book in, and then we book them in. I mean, this campaign, through the 10% campaigns and all our other campaigns like our festive specials, which we've had recently as well, this has made us more successful. We get the most amount of sales we can, and and in doing so we make them as most profit as possible. So yeah, well, it's not just online, it's mainly due through leaflets and other stuff. But even though we do have email campaigns which are quite successful, I still think that really should be more multi-channel. So have a number of options, don't just put everything online, because not everybody can see it and not everybody prefers it. I mean, a lot of elderly people may not have a computer, for instance, so they will feel, oh, we don't want to book online, we want to book through the phone. The company I want to talk about is Pebble. Now, Pebble is a company that develops smartwatches for those who can't necessarily afford like one of the higher end models, like the new Apple Watch, for instance. Now, Pebble are quite clever with the way they work. They use a marketing orientation approach, which means they want to find out what customers want and sell them what they want. So what Pebble did was they looked into what the customers wanted by doing surveys, questionnaires, and they've had a couple of focus groups, I believe. And by doing this, they managed to find out what sort of product that the customer wanted. So they wanted a smartwatch that was decent quality, but was quite cheap, reasonably priced. As well as doing this, they managed to raise their funds by doing a Kickstarter project. Now, Kickstarter projects are where potential customers and investors put money into the business in order to produce the products. So even though the customers put money into it, they still bought the watch because it was the kind of watch that they wanted to buy. It doesn't necessarily mean that cheap prices can mean increased sales, and that's another marketing myth I'm going to talk about now. Because there's products that are quite expensive, but they still manage to get high sales. I mean, Apple's iPhone is one of them. It's not a cheap smartphone, but it still manages to increase sales every year because a lot of people think into the brand, and they get pulled into the brand and purchase the products. Another company that I might talk about is the new Nissan Leaf that was released like a couple of years ago, I believe. Now, as petrol and diesel starts to decrease due to us buying and consuming more and more oil, electric cars are becoming more popular because the government's giving out $5,000 grants to people in order to purchase one. Now, the Nissan Leaf has become very successful because it entered the market before quite a few of the contenders, and because they managed to get into the market before quite a few number of competitors, their sales each year increase. But their cars aren't cheap. They're about 32 grand. Now that's a lot of money for a car, and a lot of households in the UK especially can't always afford a 32 grand car. But each year Nissan still managed to increase more and more sales every year, and they're still quite expensive. So although a lot of people believe that cheap prices can increase sales, it's not always the case, because Nissan have managed to prove that. So overall, I'm going to sum it up now. Marketing, therefore, is very important, and if you don't have the right marketing approach to when you're selling your products or your services, you're not always going to do too well. But you should do some market research into your customers, because by doing that you can become more successful as a business as a whole. I'm Josh Brackenbury, thank you for watching.